I'll tell you a little about Denmark. Now, the first I'm going to tell you a little about is how our society works. And as you can see, Denmark is a rich country, but we also pay very high taxes.
Yeah.
In spite of our taxes, we actually have a very good and very highly competitive economy, which is contrary to what some economists think is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a name for this system, and it's called flexicurity. Flexicurity. Now, to draw it up sharply, you could say in the US, you have a very high degree of liberal labor market, and you pay comparatively very low taxes. In most of Europe, labor market is very rigid, very difficult to fire people, and taxes are high. We have combined the two sides. So in Denmark we have very liberal labor market. It's very easy to fire people, but we have a very high degree of social security for those who are fired. This creates a situation which allows people to be very flexible, to seek out new jobs and all the time upgrade their skills and not be afraid of losing their old job. So Denmark is very competitive and does quite well. The next thing I want to tell about is what kind of society Denmark is, because a lot of people think Denmark lives from agriculture. But reality is that agriculture is less than 2%.
Only 2%, less than 2%.
Of Danish GDP. So it's actually less than even agriculture in Japan or the US. So we are actually a high-tech nation, but the problem is nobody knows. Now everybody knows Japan is a high-tech country because you make a lot of end-user things. You have big names like Toshiba, Sony, but Denmark does not do that. We are sub-suppliers. We build things for big companies that they use in their product. Energy efficiency. Japan and Denmark are the two most energy efficient economies in the world. Now what's interesting is that when we had the oil crisis in the 70s and 80s, Denmark and Japan decided to reduce their energy consumption, but they made completely different decisions on how to do that. So one example is housing. In Japan, houses are really not energy efficient, whereas in Denmark it was one of the areas where we put in a lot of it. It also means Denmark and Japan has a lot of complementary world-leading technology in the energy sector. So there's actually a very good fit, and I think both Japan and Denmark stand to gain compared to many other industrialized countries by having a very energy efficient economy. And it also means that both Denmark and Japan still can reduce their existing energy consumption with quite a lot with existing technologies. Danes actually welcome globalization. We are the country, people that are most positive towards globalization. And I think really Danes have understood that their working lives will be impacted a lot by their working life will be impacted a lot by globalization and have accepted that. So one of the examples is that in many countries it's a big scandal if a factory decides to move a lot of workspaces to somewhere else because the labor is cheaper. In Denmark we even have programs to support that. Because the consensus is if something can be done cheaper and better somewhere else, it will be eventually. But this also places a big burden on employers to re-educate the workforce all the time. So in Denmark, if an employee wants to study something, they will always have the opportunity and the employer will pay for it. Now 15 years ago, the consensus was different. If you wanted to study something and the company was paying, it had to be something the company had an interest in itself. So at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if one of my people come and say, I want to have a course in computer science, I will say yes, even though, I mean, diplomats do not do much computers.
No, I see.
Because it is a part of the consensus that makes it work in Denmark, that people can take new skills and change jobs themselves also. The result is, even though we have shed hundreds of thousands of jobs, unemployment is very low in Denmark and has been so for quite a few years. Danes several times have been polled to be the happiest people on earth.
What do you mean?
They are the happiest when there are polls asking how happy people are. Denmark almost always comes up.
I see.
But when it comes to quality of life, we're not quite up in the top. And the reason is that Danes die pretty fast compared to other industrialized countries. We don't live so long time. I think compared to Japan, it's about 6 or 7 years less for men and women than it is. So Danes are happy, and we're actually very healthy until the day we fall over. Now there are a lot of theories going on in Denmark now. Why is this? And one of the theories I really like is that Danes are so happy they can't worry about disease, so they don't go to doctors and then they die.
I see.
One aspect of Denmark that people do not think very much about is that Denmark is actually at war. Now, as part of this consensus, which is a very important part of Denmark, we have a consensus in Denmark that we cannot just defend Denmark from Danish soil anymore. In a globalized world, the front line is elsewhere. Now, we have very fierce debates in Denmark about a lot of issues. But the special thing about Denmark is that after the fierce debate, we usually arrive at some kind of consensus. And that consensus then guides what most Danes think is right and wrong. The strength of this consensus has shown itself in Afghanistan. The thing is that Denmark has more soldiers in Afghanistan than any other country compared to the size of Denmark's population. And sadly, we are also the country who has lost the most soldiers compared to the size of the population. And still, the support for our actions in Afghanistan are the highest amongst the coalition. And this is the strength of the consensus. Very difficult debate, but also an agreement that this is the right thing to do, and then the preparedness to use both money, resources, and blood for that aim. So I'll just round up now.